Paris is Paris. Paris is music. Paris is fashion. Paris is urban. Paris is basketball.
Okay, rolling? Okay, so Daniel, first question. How did basketball get to Paris?
It is in this gymnasium that in 1893, basketball was played for the first time in Europe.
James Naismith invented basketball in 1891 in a YMCA.
Within 2 years, it was exported to France through one of the YMCA educators, Melvin Rideout.
He was Canadian, so he spoke French. He was actually chosen by Naismith to be the first sports teacher of the Paris Y.
At that time, in the early 20th century, it was a time of religious infighting in terms of what is the place of religion and whose religion should be in public life. Basketball was first brought through a Protestant-affiliated organization.
Well, no one knows us. The YMCA, monsieur, what is that?
It was not a sport of big cities in France because the basket was developed by the churches and by the schools. Before the First World War, basketball was not important in France.
The World War I period was kind of a watershed for basketball. It was popularized by the US soldiers who came over and fought in France, and it helped to remove the religious association of the sport's initial founding. French basketball today owes a lot to the United States, even if it's always been a bit separate and apart from it.
In France, basketball is a sport of village and small cities.
For a while, it was seen as being a game of the elderly or the old or the elite opinion makers. That changed in the 1980s with the rise of playground basketball, with the rise of the NBA, and the conversion of basketball from a game that you learn at school to a game that is part of a larger culture and lifestyle.
In the 90s, people started getting into basketball.
L'attraction de ces Jeux Olympiques de Barcelone, ce sera bien sûr l'équipe de basket américaine.
The Dream Team came to Barcelona for the Olympics. Everybody was like, whoa, who the hell are those guys, you know? Everybody in France was wearing Charlotte Hornets hats. Yo, what's up? It's my squad. They were not even that good, but everybody just was wearing their hats. Early 2000, 2001, I guess, when Tony Parker got into the league, we had our first big star.
To the basket, banks it in.
People in France realized that playing in the NBA was not just a dream, it could actually happen to you.
Something's coming.
I was not good enough to play in good team. I spent most of my time playing pickup in the playground.
There's a big basketball playground culture in Paris, for real. You have a few spots in Paris that are going to be packed, and I swear to God, you could feel like you're in Rocker Park.
My favorite memories are just the time that I spent on the playground with my friends, playing, these endless battles, 3-on-3.
I get next. If you win, you stay on the court. If you lose, you're out.
It's an urban sport. I think it's the most inclusive urban sport you can find.
Basketball is the #1 sport for women in France and has been for a while.
We grew up watching girls competing. You're part of a team, boys are playing, the girls come to support, and when girls are playing, the boys came to support also. That's easy, that's the way we grew up.
The first real sports stars in France, they were a women's basketball team called Clermont Université Club. That is where Jackie Chazalon, Elizabeth Riffiod got a lot of media attention.
It's something special about basketball in Europe, but basketball is not in the culture of Parisians yet. Basketball needs a big team in Paris. I mean, it's Paris, you know, it's one of the biggest cities in the world. We need basketball here. We need a good team in Paris to exist.
These questions obviously are more Paris basketball specific, but it'll give good context.
Not my first rodeo.
Yeah, I bet.
You can talk to me.
Sure, will do.
So first question is probably the simplest is, how did you come about creating a new basketball club?
That requires an answer that is longer than probably the time you have allotted for this interview.
Oui, a mené jusqu'à son terme cette candidature pour affirmer ce qu'est une candidature française.
There was an opportunity that popped up in 2016. The city was in the process of bidding for the 2024 Olympics.
Paris has always said it's 2024 or nothing. So what has Paris got in store for the Games?
I've always felt that what has prevented Paris from having a successful basketball team is a quality first-class arena. And I wondered to myself, maybe they would build a new mid-sized arena. And sure enough, when I did the research, I found in their bid document they were planning such an arena. I probably, as always, underestimated the challenges that would come up along the way. Above every French government building, it says 3 words: liberté, égalité, fraternité. And I tell the French people, no. It should say politique, juridique, compliqué. Politics, law, complicated. First thing you hear from every French person whenever you speak to them is,
it's complicated.
In other words, everything is presented as complicated. You can't ask them to do business your way. You have to adapt. I've probably forced them from time to time to try to come a little bit to our style, and I wouldn't even call it an American style. I would call it more of a business-minded style. Because Paris basketball is a business. It is a club, it is a basketball team, but ultimately, it's a business.
Le 5 de départ, les Parisiens qui vont démarrer avec Tyrone Wallace, ça l'amène donc Gauthier Denis, Juan Bégarin, Jérémy Evans, Amir Sims et la première possession.
The problem is in Paris, you have a variety of options when it comes to entertainment.
How do you capture attention in Paris when there's fashion week, poetry readings, jazz?
You cannot be bored in Paris. It's a gift and a curse.
There's so much that competes for time and attention.
Parisian people, all they care about is PSG right now. They want to go see soccer at PSG. And if you want to try and get them to come to Paris basketball, well, you got to work on that.
There is a new culture to create a big basketball club like PSG is in football.
PSG today is vastly different than PSG 20 years ago when no one really paid that much attention to it. It was just a club. Yes, it was part of the city, but it was nowhere near the kind of media king that it is today.
There is not a tradition like Spain, for example, like Madrid and Barcelona, who have very ancient and important basketball clubs connected to the football clubs. There is not the same tradition in Paris. You have to create something.
Of course, I would have loved a little more intensity, but I also have to acknowledge that we're playing without 2 starters and we're missing some of the energy is required to play with the intensity that we needed tonight.
Today, Paris basketball is a good team, but it's not like a top team in the French league. Far from that. If you get to that top of the French league, then you're going to bring people, then you can communicate on that, then you're going to try and fill this new arena that's coming up. You just need to win games.
Every year since the club has been a club, I think they've gotten better every single year. And I think next year with the new arena, us having success in Euro Cup for the first time, people are looking at us as a club where people can come and kind of like showcase their talents.
The blueprint is there, you know. Our staff does a great job of identifying and staying in touch with the talented young Frenchies all over the world. And we're lucky to be in Paris. You know, this is a place where people want to play. It's a place where people want to be. The people that are here want to be here and love living here.
This plan they have of developing young French players, I think that's a very good direction to go towards. You can have 1, 2 American superstars, but you need French players. That's just the way it is.
We have enough financially to not only make this work for now, but make this work as we continue through the growing stages.
Having those kinds of ambitions are really important. Like, you can't achieve great things without high expectations.
I always think it's important to be a running, exciting team. And I think especially in a place with Paris that dovetails very neatly with the culture of the city, the vibe of the city.
Even the way they do games, like they're bringing people to the games, they're always bringing somebody like to perform at halftime or something. Or
they bring dancers, they, try to bring somehow an American type of show, but with the French like mentalities, because if you try to replicate what's happening in the NBA to a French league, that's not gonna work. I mean, it's not the same audience, not the same people, not the same demographics.
What's important to me is it's a show. And that's what the Parisians want. They want a show, they want entertainment. I don't want to put it into an NBA box. It's more of a Parisian box that includes the NBA influence.
I mean, you can tell that there's an American guy around.
That's Paris. That's what we aim to tap into.
As a photographer, I started documenting empty basketball courts in 2004. The first thing I was doing was documenting the beauty of these empty basketball courts. I find spiritual values in basketball and on a basketball court. To me, the court is an altar in a church. The hoop itself is a priest to me. If something bad happened in your life, you go back to your second home. You need that relationship with the court and the hoop itself. Because when you play the game, basically isolate yourself from any other parasites or problems that you have in your life. Sports is like religion. There is something unique about the object we use as ball players. Like the ball itself, the hoop, the rim. There is something really sacred. And something about basketball in a city like Paris is just different.